it is with big pleasure that I welcome Patrice, because indeed we have decided to start with a first exercise. Dissemination and outreach are important tasks for the EIT, and the publication that we have contracted, Technopolis, is precisely about this, codifying from the KIC practices what is emerging, what is interesting, and to put this at work beyond the perimeter of the KICS themselves, and maybe national stakeholders, but also European stakeholders, could put these emerging practices at work as part of their innovation policy portfolios. So this is a bit the context. Of course, again, this is the first of a series. The publication would be made available after the conference, because we thought it was good, starting with the publication which is in the making, to very much use this conference to get your feedback on board. But of course, it would be with pleasure that after the conference, each participant would have a copy of this publication that we'll make available later. So this is a bit of an introduction. Patrice, you have a curriculum also, but I guess you are very well known in this circle, because Technopolis is in fact providing a lot of advice to the Commission. And an interesting feature, of course, selection of Technopolis was done on a competitive basis, is that your company is very much evaluating programs. So I value very much that you, while you have been supporting us in developing this guide, you of course come with a critical eye, because you have been assessing other programs. And this, I think, is in our interest, so that we don't replicate again, but we very much add value and provide complementary features and support to other institutional offerings in Europe. You have the floor, and please guide us through the publication.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. As said, I will talk a bit about this publication that you've just received, a two-page summary I see in the room. And just being here this yesterday, I already noticed there is an emerging EIT KIC community, family, label. There's a identity, but I also noticed there's a big group here of people who haven't been involved, look at EIT and what is this animal, what is it about? We don't understand exactly how it works. So I hope our publication is for both communities. The community is already inside and feeling part of the EIT family and seeing, hey, this is all the things that we've done. But maybe more importantly, for the community that looks from outside and wants to understand what EIT is about. I will go through the purpose of the publication, discuss some challenges of setting up these first three KICS, practices developed by the KICS. I will go into a few examples there, and look at EIT in the wider European context, and to sum up with some reflections, I would say. I will start with this famous triangle again. You've all seen the picture. And yesterday we heard, well, this shouldn't be a triangle, this should be something with 4 angles, because government is missing. And so saw another picture, which is the pyramid, the climate pyramid. And I think if you look at this picture, if you look at it differently, if you don't look at it as, you know, this is the typical picture where all the actual actors are nicely in their silo. There's the higher education silo, there's the research and technology silo, and there's the business silo. No, if you look at it functionally, these are the functions that we are trying to join together in EIT, and look at the actors, and I think this is the interesting part of EIT. The actors perform roles in each of these functions. We see examples from KICS where business sector is a close partner in the education by providing room for traineeships, by providing input into education programs. We even see government in some cases in the role of business, and might find that strange, but there are KICS, for instance, the climate change, where the government is actually a big customer, because they are the ones that are the running big transport systems. They can act as a procurer for new technology. So I think this picture is a concept made up by policymakers, but it also can illustrate how the EIT has crossed different borders between these traditional silos where actors play a role in all three balls, but across the national borders, across the disciplinary borders, and that is probably the big difference of EIT, to try to organize crossing all these borders simultaneously. And I can imagine some people from, say, big universities say, well, we've already done all these things at the same time, but trying to organize that at the scale and the ambition level of EIT is quite a different thing. Back to the publication. It is, as José Manuel said, the first EIT publication in its sort. We had a long discussion in the beginning. What is this publication? Is it a summary of good practices? And already immediately also the KICS said, no, we can't say it's a summary of good practices. We've only just started. How can we assess good practices? And it is still very early days. So what we've tried to do is pull out the stories and try to find where new ways of doing things are being developed, and try to just put that on paper, tell those stories on paper, to disseminate to the community who doesn't even know yet what EIT. So it's a showcase of interesting practices. It's a short version, so there's much more out there. It's for a broad audience as well, so the stakeholders outside the EIT community understand it better. Written by a team of my colleagues. The one who did most work is my colleague Becky Allison there, sitting on the second row. So she knows most of the details of all the KICS. These novel practices are around a number of things. It's around forms of organization and forms of organizing this chain of education, research, technology, and innovation. It's about education models, cross borders and disciplines. It's about practices to support entrepreneurship, and it's about bridging this innovation gap, trying to really move into thinking about business development. Now, there have also been challenges in setting up the KICS. Using the word challenges is a nice English way of saying, well, yes, it was very difficult, and a lot of the KIC directors will admit immediately that this was not an easy route. First of all, to organize this whole distributed ecosystem across countries, across different actors, was quite difficult. Now, the advantage that we heard yesterday in some of the parallel sessions, we heard the advantage of the EIT model is that it's flexible. It gives room for experimentation. It doesn't give a straitjacket. This is how you do it. It's for long term. That has seen as an advantage. The disadvantage is that the three first KICS also had to make it all up themselves and had to go through a difficult route of finding how to organize this. And this was particularly the complexity of setting up these partnerships. Geographically dispersed, we're dealing with independent member organizations or member partners who have been in this European scene, having to try to get them on board, having to try to come up with a joint idea of what the KIC is about. A particularly difficult thing was the implication of setting up the formal structure of the KIC. What legal structures do we use in which country? What type of organization? What legal form do we do? And the KIC directors can tell you much about that. It's still not an easy task, and there's still discussion about that. It's about trust building and community building, and skeptical people looking outside, they say, well, you know, you've been around for 1.5 years, why don't we see things yet? Well, this partnership building was actually quite a daunting task for a lot of KICS. And set up the multi-stakeholder involvement. And then, on the other hand, there was the idea was that these KICS should be set up as business models, a business-type organization, and involve a lot of multi-stakeholders. Now, that was a balancing act. How do you arrange your governance that you're both like a business and have these networks of sometimes more than 100 partners? So they have been working quite a while on this. So what sort of organizational practices have they developed? As said, all the 3 KICS are set up as legal entities. There has been some changes in that because finding which legal entity fits with this business type of model, at the same time being not for, or sometimes not for profit or not for dividend, and involving very many non-for-profit organizations was quite needed a lot of creativity from the KIC organizations to find the right model. You had to go into a commitment of 7 to 15 years, so you really need to do some trust building before some organization wants to engage in 7 to 15 years, and that is quite new because we are used in the European landscape of engaging with each other in projects which might last 3 or 4 years, but really engaging into such a long time needs a whole different mindset. And they've managed to commit those actors for the long time. Arranging financial models that also follow this entrepreneurial logic, that work from the basis that EIT is just seed money. You have to find contributions from your members and so forth. And picture I will show you later, there's already in these first 1.5 years quite some commitment for co-funding and from other actors. This whole business type organization is also quite new, particularly as there are many universities involved, running this as a business with a CEO, strategic plan and a business plan, and developing a sense of a portfolio of assets, IP, and so forth, to also generate income in the future, and organize lean administrations. That is quite a new feature of the way to organize the European landscape. We saw in some parallel sessions already that within the organizations they have made matrix, a sort of matrix model, where the KICS don't only have a CEO, but also location directors, innovation directors, entrepreneur directors, and education directors, and try to manage that whole matrix picture across institutions, across borders, is quite a new model as well. And an interesting feature, for instance, in the climate change KIC is regional implementation and innovation communities that we heard also about yesterday, which is really trying to involve stakeholders from cities and so forth to really implement the projects and the ideas that have been developed. So these are some of the organizational practices, and it might seem straightforward, but it has been quite a step in the European landscape. About this catalyst role, you hear a lot of people, well, you know, EIT is not about the money, it's not putting money into research, but already after 1.5 years, you see a huge catalyst role there of EIT, where it's put in 100 67 million of euros. That has already leveraged funding from the members, already almost 300 million from national and regional governments, also other EU for FP7 projects and so forth. And the small little ball there is venture capitalists and so forth. In the big member pie there, you see a pink bit, and the pink bit represents what industry has put up. It's about, differs per KIC, but it's about between 21% and 30% of the membership attribution. Now, I think after 1.5 years, this is already quite amazing, because it means that a lot of people have shown commitment in this new animal that took quite some time to understand how it is going to function. Another catalyst role is that EIT is leveraging all these networks. We've seen these maps with all the co-location centers. They have their partner organization. Each of the partner organizations has their local network. So it gives the opportunity. We've seen examples where small companies in one country can, through a KIC platform, whether it's education or a business development platform, get access to bigger members, say, in another area. Or students in one country can access the network of universities in another country. And that's the essential role, is bringing together networks, across national networks, but also national, regional networks. So it's quite a, it could be a quite powerful mechanism to link up communities. So a lot of these practices are around the innovation challenges that we've seen. The challenge about people. You know, Europe needs a bigger talent pool, particularly in the area of science, technology, innovation, entrepreneurship. So that is one of the challenges that addressed by the initiative. Market. We all talk about the innovation paradox. The market orientation of our research, changing that culture is an important element. Organization. Organizing these networks also in the open innovation context, and partnerships, leveraging this private investment. Now, it would take too far to go through all the things that have been organized already within the KICS. So also in the publication, what we've done is describe some of the practices. You can see a number of them listed here, but we've tried to sort of highlight or give the spotlight on a number of them, which are interesting examples of novel ways of organizing. And I will particularly go into the ICT Lab Master School, the Climate KIC, the Journey initiative, and the Energy Highway. Now, with all these examples here, you see them described in the document. Much of them are also work in progress. They are being developed, and I heard also already yesterday, well, it's, you know, we're still working on elements, it's not working completely yet, but the fact that a lot of effort is being put into developing these practices across groups is already quite an achievement. So, for instance, the ICT Labs Master School, they have, with 21 of their partners, set up a new master's degree in the area of ICT, combining all the multidisciplinary core parts of ICT education, and designed a master that is accepted by all the partners across all the institutions. So it's a joint venture of 21 of these KICS. And what they've done is not only do the technical parts of the masters, but they integrated the innovation and entrepreneurship models into this whole curriculum. So you have now a curriculum that is accepted by all these institutions. This took quite a while to agree to. They have accepted that students can enter into one institution and exit in another. Again, it's not been tested how it works, but the first student starts in 2012. There were 800 applicants. They've used the EIT label as an extra quality label. So the fact that already 800 students see this as a good opportunity is a sign that the EIT approach is visible. There will be active links with industrial partners playing a role in the educational programs, and in the future the idea is that if the KICS lead to startups, say traineeships in startups coming from the KIC could also be an option. So a very interesting approach from the ICT labs. The second one is that we want to highlight and is what is the climate KIC calls the journey. This has been an extensive summer school, multidisciplinary, because climate change is a very multidisciplinary affair. Put people together for 5 weeks. Very small number of students, you might say, in the first year, 45, but there was already oversubscription. There's a bigger group started in 2011. Entrepreneurship training is very much part of this summer school. You interact with business partners in the summer school, and the groups are working towards potential business solutions. And as a result of the first journey in 2010, already 4 startups have created that managed to attract external funding. But just putting people together, ideas together, changing, say, the ideas and changing the game. There is an alumni network already started where people can still connect to people who've been on the summer school, so people have networks that they can use. The students as well as those involved in the KIC. And what they will want to do in the future is to integrate the elements of their journey, this entrepreneurial approach, the business development approach, in the sort of general curricula that are used by the KIC institutions. A third example is the KIC InnoEnergy Highway. I've branded it. This is a specialized business creation process in the sustainable energy area. It goes through ideas or potential companies go through different stages. They enter at one gate from bits like the picture that was shown by Alexander von Gobein earlier. They go through different phases. What the KIC Energy wants to deliver is added value, not just giving them money, but added value services. And they have developed a service for equity concept, also combining that with specialized business indicator for sustainable energy, linked to local networks. And what is, I think, a very interesting element of this is already trying to involve the first customers for these potential ideas through the KIC partners and networks and the businesses, trying to find those lead customers that can get this innovation on the market. And there's a series of venture capital attached. So you might think, well, all the elements, we have this already, and an incubator is not so new, and what is so special about this? But actually organizing this across the whole EIT networks, that leveraging partners, leveraging knowledge, leveraging data and services is a unique element. Very short on the position of EIT in the European research, I will be very short on that because it was also already yesterday mentioned that EIT takes a quite interesting central position through this linkaging role, linking it to not only Horizon 2020, but a number of agendas, European agendas for new skills, smart specialization within regions, youth on the move, and so forth. So the new approach is potentially a very central player in this whole landscape. Summing up, it's the launch of, is the first European initiative that actually tries to link all these elements of the triangle. It's not about direct funding, and maybe some of the more skeptical people think, well, if there's no research money, how can this be pushing innovation forward? And I think that today, organizational power, innovation from organizing the ecosystems differently, could be much more powerful than, and is necessary, than just having more technologies, more research in a certain domain. We all, one of the game-changing innovations in Europe was EasyJet. They changed the game from the airplane industry. Now, in the light of social challenges, grand challenges, that might not be the idea, that might not be the best example, but I would argue that in the area of sustainable energy, in the area of climate change, in the area of ICT for health, for instance, organizational innovations are probably more important than just having a new set of technologies and research in the system. Rearranging the stakeholders, involving the demand side, looking at it from a supply chain is probably the thing that can make a game change for Europe. So we've seen very interesting practices from the KICS. It's just the start. Let's consider EIT as a big startup itself. It has had its teething problems, and it is learning how to do things, but potentially by organizing the ecosystems in Europe differently could have an enormous potential in the future. And let's see in 5 years and in 10 years how far all have gone. That I would like to conclude.
So I guess we have time maybe for a couple of questions or so. Thank you, Patrice. I think you concluded with a very strong message about organizational power. Maybe the audience would like to build upon that. Of course, on the specifics of each of the KICS, again, there would be presentations later. But if you have any question of general interest across the 3 KICS, this is the right moment. Yes?
Yes, thank you. I have 3 questions, actually. The first one would be, you said that the KICS have a commitment of 7 to 15 years. I would be interested whether there is a KIC with commitments up to 15 years. The second question concerns the funds. You showed this chart with the different amounts, and one of the bullet points said, other EU 105 million. I would be interested in which funds this comes from, how much is from cohesion policy, for example. And the third question is, just at the end you said that this is just the start and we have to see for the next 5 to 10 years how the KICS develop. So what is your, as Technopolis, your recommendation for the next 2 waves? Thank you.
Whether there's a KIC that has commitments up to 15 years, I'd have to give that question back to the KICS themselves. But we have a question and answer session later where you can ask the KICS specific questions. So I would go to the second question on where the other EU funding came. That is FP7, SIP, yeah, mostly FP7 and Community Innovation Program type of funding. But if you, the exact numbers I don't have ready here. What would I recommend? As said, this hasn't been a study or analysis of you know, what we would normally do if things have gone further. What I would recommend is that the KICS go on the path that they have gone and try to consolidate the partnerships that they have formed and consolidate the actions. Even if they are experimentations, I think that is a very good way of finding new ways of organizing it, because we can't keep doing things as we've been doing them for ages and ages. We have to find novel ways of organizing, and yes, some things may fail, but that's, you know, that is what innovation is about, and experimentation. So my recommendation is to EIT is to give the KICS this space for experimentation, but within the path that they have chosen.
Very good. I don't see any other requests for the floor, so I think that we would take this message strongly with us. Yes, there's another one there. Sorry.
Hi. As we know, European Commission has made a proposal to raise the budget for EIT to 3.2 billion. So if the funding from EIT is only 25%, it means that total funding will be over 12 billion. Does Technopolis also looked at absorption possibilities for Europe, and also if there's no really money going into research, how efficient is the use of the money if we are talking about like 12 billion for the next period? Thank you.
Well, no, we haven't done a sort of scenario of what the future could look like. Whether there is indeed, say, the absorptive capacity, I think there could be a lot done by leveraging other existing funds like the cohesion funding and so forth. That is a much bigger budget, for instance, than the whole FP7 budget. By moving it to other, there will be new KICS, so there's a whole new communities being leveraged. So, but with shrinking budgets nationally and regionally, yes, will be, and co-funding also needed for structure funds. That will be a challenge to expand it in that way. But I think it's always better to try to leverage existing things than trying to put this whole new big fund into this type of organization, because this is about reorganizing existing things as well as creating new things on top of that. And whether it's efficient, I think it's a quote by I mean, we're talking a lot about social capital here, building social capital, and it's very difficult to count. It's more difficult to assess whether this has been effective than, say, counting the number of patents of publications or products that's come out of things. So that is also going to be one of the challenges for the future, to see, well, what has really come out of that.
Very good. I think we have to conclude here. I'm sorry, because otherwise the rest of the presentations would not run as planned. But I would invite you, if you still are curious about these leverage effects, to pick up an exemplar of these fact sheets that we have in our stand, because you have, in fact, there the actual figures about how much money is leveraged by the EIT funding for national governments, for European governments, and per KIC. So I think you can basically get these answers there. Thank you very much, Patrice, and I think we should hand over to the next speakers.